Hey, this is Jay from GameDevNation.com, and this series of tutorials is for people who want to get started in Unity doing 2D games. And this tutorial series of videos is based on the tutorial from the guys at Pixel Nest Studio with their permission. And so this is actually going to follow along as directly as possible with their Unity 2D tutorial. So if you've seen the text version here on their website, then this video will kind of follow along as closely as possible. If you haven't seen it, then the two in conjunction with each other, the one on the website and this series of videos, it will go a long way toward getting you going with Unity doing 2D games. Assuming you've already installed Unity 3D on your system, go ahead and create a new project. And I'm going to call this one Pixel Nest Tutorial. The other thing we're going to do here before we get started really is set the defaults for 2D. And now we're going to go ahead and create project. And when the screen comes up, it may look a little bit different than this because actually I have mine set on a specific layout. Let me go back to default. Yours may look like this, or it may look like this, or not sure how you have yours laid out. If this is the first time you're running Unity, then I think the default is going to look like this, but you can do anything you want with it. I am following the Pixel Nest tutorials, and they have theirs laid out kind of like this. So this is what I'm going to go with for this series of tutorials. And to get started, we're going to create some folders inside of assets here where we can put our scripts and sprites and things like that. Your project pane may not look exactly like this. If you have a one-column layout, it's going to look like this. But in any case, actions are going to be the same basically. We're going to create a folder, and we're going to call this Prefabs. Prefabs are like reusable objects in the game. We're going to create another one called Scenes. A scene in Unity is like a level or a menu, an option screen. Those are all different scenes. Scripts are the actual C# scripts or JavaScript or Boo script, whatever kind of scripting you're going to do. This tutorial series uses C#. And you'll see I just did something wrong here. I actually put the scripts folder inside of scenes by accident. But the cool thing is this is kind of all drag and drop. So if we pull this out here and just drop it on side of assets, it fixes things for us. So I'm going to go ahead and select assets, create folder, and sounds should show up in the right spot. And then finally textures. And this is where we're going to put sprites. And the Pixel Nest guys say that there are some advantages. Oops, did the same thing here. Some advantages for calling your sprites folder textures. But it's not going to hurt anything either way, so I'm just going to go with textures because that's what their tutorial does. So we're set up now with some folders so that we can keep our project organized. Now we actually have our first scene already here in the hierarchy pane. These are all of the objects that are in our current scene, and whenever you create a scene, it creates a main camera. The other things we're going to do here are create some game objects, but we're going to create empty game objects and use them as folders. Now down in here we're creating folders. They don't have that option here, but what we can do is up here at the game object menu, we can say create empty, and then we can select this, make it so that we can rename it, and we're going to call this level. We're going to create another one, call it render. Create another empty one and call this scripts. And we're going to take the main camera and move it down under render. So now it is actually a child object of this game object called render. And we're also going to create some game objects that are going to go inside of a level there. So create another empty one, and this one's going to be called 0-background. Going to go down the side of level. Create another one, empty one, and call this one 1-middle ground. Drag it into level. And finally one more, and this one is going to be called 2-foreground. And we'll put that in level also. So now we have 3 children for the level object. And the other thing that we want to make sure that we've done is here, select level and make sure that the position is 0, 0, 0 over here in the inspector. And the same for render. And the same for scripts. We just want to make sure that these parent objects are all set to 0. So now we have this scene ready to go, ready to start creating our game. Let's go ahead and save it. Save scene under the File menu, and we're just going to call this Stage 1. And we're going to put it inside of, not just inside the Assets folder, but inside of Scenes. That's the folder that we created earlier. And now, in fact, if we look down here in the Project folder, in Scenes, we can see there is Stage 1, and we are all set. So that's the end of this first video. Let's go to the next video, and we'll add a background and some more elements.